increased with quite deliberate speed. So it seems when Congress's own privacy is at risk, they somehow find a way to act. And it also seems like they're not entirely aware just how easy it is for anyone, and I do mean anyone, to get their personal information, which brings me to me. Because in researching this story, we realised there is any number of perfectly legal bits of fuckery that we could engage in. We could, for example, use data brokers to go fishing for members of Congress by creating a demographic group consisting of men aged 45 and up in a 5-mile radius of the US Capitol. Who had previously visited sites regarding or searched for terms including divorce, massage, hair loss and midlife crisis.
Okay.
We could call that group Congress and Cabernet and then target that list with ads that might attract those men to click, like marriage shouldn't be a prison or can you vote twice? We could also throw in, do you want to read Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction?
So, what would be wrong exactly with wanting to read Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction? I'm not sure what he's getting at here. I'm feeling a little attacked.
Just to see what would happen. And if anyone clicked, we'd be able to harvest even more data from them, which we could then theoretically take steps to de-anonymize. Now, am I saying that we're actually going to do that? Collect all that raw information and store it in, let's say, a manila envelope somewhere? Well, I am sorry to disappoint you. We are not going to do that.
Thank God. I guess the crisis averted.
Why would we when we have already done it?
Okay, it's not cool. Not liking that at all.
Because all that raw data is currently right in here. And honestly, this whole exercise was fucking creepy. We ran those 3 targeted ads this week in the Capitol Hill area. And to give you a sense of just how many clicks we got, it was very much not 0. Do you want to see?
That's not a good sense. Very much not 0 is not a good sense of how many people clicked. And I maintain that not everybody within a 5-mile radius of Capitol Hill over the age of 45 is going to be a member of Congress or a member of Congress's staff. And also, we're one of those people to find the idea of Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction possibly alluring for satirical reasons. Here's my question to you, John Oliver. How do you tell the difference between a genuine click and a satirical click? You can't.
More? Because I do. Please come with me. Because let's start with the very first hit that we got. It came at 3:35 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon from around the Embassy Row area when a man fitting our demographic description clicked on the Ted Cruz ad, meaning that we now have his IP address and device ID and also know that he did it on an Android phone. So we could now take steps to identify him, just like we could with all these others who clicked on one of our ads in the Capitol Hill area this week, including at least 3 who may have been inside the Capitol of our...
I don't like this circle at all, for lots of reasons.
Ads in the Capitol Hill area this week, including at least 3 who may have been inside the Capitol building itself. One of whom clicked on the "Can you vote twice" ad, one of whom clicked on the divorce one, and another who clicked on the Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction, which was distressingly popular. And if you're thinking, how on earth is any of this legal?
Of course, the Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction was incredibly popular. Like who would see that and could resist clicking it? Like, again, like satirical versus genuine interest. Can't gauge that. Even if you had some sort of haptic feedback interpreter on your mouse that would interpret velocity or body temperature, something like that. I don't think that you could get that kind of data from a simple mouse click. You would need to activate the webcam. You probably need to evaluate like a bunch of different factors: facial expression, attire, or lack of attire. Anyway, let's finish this up.
I totally agree with you. It shouldn't be. And if you happen to be a legislator who is feeling a little nervous right now about whether...
Again, like, probably a lot of those people, most of those people were not legislators. They were genuine citizens, people who pay taxes, don't get paid by taxes. And maybe they looked up divorce or maybe they have a bad lower back. Therefore, they looked up massage or whatever it is. I think, John, you're drawing a lot of conclusions here, and I'm not appreciating it.
Your information is in this envelope and you are terrified about what I might do with it, you might want to channel that worry into making sure that I can't do anything. Anyway, sleep well.
So, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to episode 65. Episode 65 of Beyond the Double Red Doors. If you've tuned in before, you know that I'm sort of I'm not so much an advocate for surrendering to the inevitability that is like data will be tracked, but I am a little bit of a turn the other cheek kind of person. There is to me like a bit of, and it depends on the day you get me, right? But there is a bit of arrogance sort of on, I think, like when you're being really, really precious about your data, generally like it's worth like a couple of cents, right? Like if you're like, well, you should own your data. Okay. You want to cash that check? Okay. And also people like just don't like what John Oliver said there is true. Like it's like the housing crash, right? Where there were mortgages, everything just gets bundled. Very little of it is individualized. Now you can de-anonymize it, of course you can, and that can be a problem, and it may be a problem that until watching John Oliver's report, where he just so happened to, he pretty much like just grabbed my demographic completely. Right? Like this, I live in the lower left part of that circle. These are, you can see the various bridges going across the Potomac into DC. All right, Georgetown, Exorcistville, right around here. My audio is phasing in and out. It's probably because I have echo cancellation on, because I have a fan on, because it's warm in here. Let me see if I'll deactivate it, but you might get, let's see if that helps. You didn't have to super chat to do that. Is the audio still weird? Let's see. Am I getting... Yeah, I'm curious if the audio is still weird. If it's weird now, like I said, you might be hearing some fan noise because it was warm in here, and the echo cancellation might have been doing something weird to try and compensate for the fan noise. Don't trust it. Okay, it's better. Right. Thank you, Q. I want to send you back I said, well, look, I try to like not always be looking at chat, otherwise I'll never get through a thought. But anyway, so this, I want to refund Q that. Like if anything, I owe Q money. I think that's pretty clear. But this, yeah, so here you see the three bridges going across the Potomac. Well, there's more than three, but right around here is where The Exorcist was filmed. You can't see my mouse, can you? Ridiculous. It's right around the bottom there, like right across the river is where The Exorcist was filmed. Let's see. Can't. I need a depth perception so I can put my finger in front of it. And if you look closer, can we look closer? Well, yeah, we can. Particularly that area right there. Those three dudes with the beards. I'm not liking that John Oliver has resorted to blackmail. Human beings live near DC too. And many human beings are over the age of 45. And frankly, I challenge anyone who says that they would, if they saw an ad for Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction, like tell me you could stop yourself from clicking that. How could you? How could you do that? I couldn't. So fortunately, right, I'm kidding a bit insofar that, I didn't actually get served any of those ads, or at least I didn't notice if I got served any of those ads. But I guarantee you if I had seen, I don't click ads, right? But if I had seen a Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction ad, I might have clicked it. My fear would be that it wouldn't be genuine, that it actually wouldn't be a Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction ad. It wouldn't actually reroute me to proper Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction. Opening scene. A steamy night in Cancun. Ted Cruz taking a swig from a Corona. Picking bits of lime pulp from his teeth as he makes this noise. He walks down a jumping street. Open carry. Just a bottle of Corona. Walks into a bar. Goes up to the bartender and says, "Hola, my name is Ted Cruz. Could I have another?" Bartender says, "Sure, Ted." Ted turns and says, "All right. Gets his new beer. Hot night tonight, huh?" She's 36. Recently divorced. Physical therapist. Vacationing. Trying to start her life over again. Empty nester. Empty nester at 36? No, wait. Okay. She's 42. Just recent empty nester. She goes to Cancun. She doesn't know what she's going to expect, but she sure couldn't have predicted this. That's right, her hero. She's from Lubbock. There he is, in all his sweaty glory. Standing right next to her, like she can barely believe her luck, like she's having to do a double take. Wait a minute, is that who I think it is? And he's 4 beers in to, a 12 beer night, maybe. Feeling pretty good about himself. feeling like he can pass off Pitt Staines as him being a man of the people. So she says, I'm drinking Jack Daniels. And he says, I'd be happy to join you if you'd have me. She says, have you? Why? Not only are you a representative of the great state of Texas, but legend has it you are also the Zodiac killer. He looks down at his beer, takes another swig, nods his head a little bit. Oh, wait a minute. What happened? What did it... You don't want to... You aren't like a... You don't want to hear where this is going? It's a surprise. I'll tell you. You might think you know where it's going. Well, maybe now that I've revealed the Zodiac killer part, maybe you do. Exactly anew. She looks at him and she thinks, I could fix that guy. I don't know how many people he's killed, intentionally or through negligence. But it's a lot. Either way, that spells power. I think I'm going to go on a cruise with Cruz. My kid's at Caltech. Second year. All right. I'll stop. My point is, maybe I'm shifting my views on data once again based on being blackmailed by John Oliver. Fucking piece of crap. No, I thought that was a great piece, right? Again, like we've talked about this before, where I happen to land on data is not where, most people happen to land. And data is just the first piece of the puzzle, right? You have to do something with the data. The data by itself is completely harmless. Watch him not pick up. What are you all talking about? What is going on here? I have things to say. Somebody wants to call in already? Okay, well, let me put the Who's-a-Watchy up. Let's see. I gotta go through the usual rigmarole here. So first this one comes up. Then maybe that one. Maybe we can again learn how to steal an election. Maybe we talk about Michael Keaton going to the bathroom. I don't delete these things. They just stick around forever. There's stuff here there's this. This is like a first episode thing. Not previous to first episode. This is a Last of Us 2 streaming. Atavism. Y'all remember that? I got all kinds of screen graphics here. They're great. Some of them I don't remember what they are. Oh, that's from the interview with Angelica. Some of them are not even named. That's a great one. But, okay. So, yeah, I've done the faffing around. So if there's something you want to talk about, if you want to talk about data, where I was going with that was... Jesus Christ. Was the second step that happens once data is collected, which is, of course... Oh, actually, it's going to be hard to talk to someone. Wait. I can do it, but it may take like a moment. Oh, Nasha. Me too. I miss those days. I go to that creek I went a couple of days ago as it started to get warmer. It's actually quite warm today, like too warm. I even recorded stuff, but I was gonna bring it over because what did I see? If you want to talk about the innocent days of the section, the marital aid in the creek, there's a nest, there's a robin's nest above the light, above one of the exterior lights of my house in the back. And every night I kind of have this existential struggle of, does the light work as an efficient incubator for the robin's egg, or will it get too hot? And if I turn the light off, will it be too cold for the egg? Is the reason the nest was built on top of the light because the light was on and the warmth was required? Or am I going to cook the robin's egg? These are the kinds of things that I will be in bed and I'll be worried about. Well, yeah, that rear porch exterior light is on, and there's a robin's nest on top of it, and there's an egg in that nest. Which, let's talk about failures of evolution for a moment. Why are robin's eggs, and generally, like often, eggs are pretty brightly colored, which seems like a disadvantage for their survival. You've got this nest that kind of just looks like it could blend in with anything. And then you've got this almost, for those of you who've seen robin's eggs, and they're everywhere. Right? It's not like these are uncommon things. They are really intense kind of jade green. So marital aid. Yeah, it's a marital aid. You don't have to be married to use it. But that is my old school way of not saying dildo on stream. So this is... I'm reluctant to say this. But it's been about a week now. I just wasn't going to say anything. I'm not the kind of person who wants to say this kind of stuff. But it's a weekend, and I have gone back. Well, I don't know if I can say gone back. I've decided to be vegetarian, or as close to it as I can be. Vegan is a bridge too far for me right now. It just is. But so I'm a vegetarian who still eats, who chooses to classify eggs as dairy. My moral compass is slightly askew. That's better than, I ate meat, right? Really, it was just chicken, right, and fish. Ooh, I hadn't really thought about fish. Now I'm like, man, I could really go for some fish. But no, I'm going to try and continue that. What I don't want to have happen is like, where I was eating fish, now I'm eating pizza. So, it's been a lot of hummus, a lot of plant-based burgers, Impossible, Beyond, etc. But still a fair amount of dairy. Like getting milk out of my diet would be really hard, really difficult for me to do. Which, this is the hypocrisy of existence that I live, where I'm trying to do no harm. Or do minimal harm for the remainder of my existence. And yet, God, this is so distracting having this up, sorry. And yet, I mean, the thing to do if I wanted to do minimal harm would be vegan, detach from consumerist culture completely, and just try to exist with as little footprint as possible. But no, I own a gas-powered vehicle, and I am often not vegetarian, although I'm trying to be now. And I'm not vegan. But anyway, y'all dragged that out of me. I didn't even want to say it.
Like, I don't know if that thing that they just did with the COVID is, like, panned out or not. But if it did, that's, like, somebody should probably be looking into that.
Do we want to talk about COVID anymore? Okay, I'm going to check to see if anybody has emailed in. It's a bit early in the experience to be doing this, but sure, why not? Let's do something different. 65 episodes in, getting a bit of a rut. All right, well, screw y'all. Nobody has written in. I'm aware of this. Q. I'm aware. It is as much. I think there is value in. Well, one, like there's value in like personally not feeling like I'm eating flesh, and two, I also think that you can only enact. You have to start somewhere, right? You can only enact large-scale change. Think locally, or think globally, act locally. Okay, got somebody. Got a bite. Got a bite. Let me copy this link. What? I'm not trying to paste a file. Why do you think I'm trying to paste a file? Link sent. It's gonna take a moment when if and when this person calls in. It's gonna take a moment because I'm not really. Yeah, this is not really set up for an interview right now. Which means that I don't have. I gotta get my audio coming out. In order for me to get my audio coming out correctly, I need to turn echo cancellation on. But if I turn echo cancellation on, it's going to phase because the fan is on. Solution is I must turn off the fan and suffer mildly uncomfortable temperatures for a time. Let me do that. While I'm doing that, here's some Jordan Peterson.
Which is a tradition we have now where all the guests that come on write a question for the next guest. So there is a question in there for you. But the guest wrote a question which changed his life, which is, are you happy? And I, from reading your work and understanding your position on happiness and it not being the thing to aim for, which really struck me because I thought, I thought life was the North Star of our lives was to try and be happy. Mm-hmm. I guess my question is, what I was going to ask you that question.
I can't even do that with a straight face. Okay, so here's we have somebody in the guest room. I need to do a test before bringing them in. I'm going to turn on echo cancellation again. Could chat tell me if it still fucks up? Here it goes. Echo cancellation on. Do you hear phasing? If you hear phasing, we might have some trouble. If you don't hear phasing, if you don't hear it, then we might be good to go. That'd be great. It's fucked up again, really? Fuck. I don't know why. I don't know why in this case, in this one particular night, for some reason, echo cancellation is having a problem. All right, so I got to leave it out. I got to leave the echo cancellation off. And we'll bring on the guest and see if we can get something resembling... Wow, that's so bizarre. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed on my end, as far as I know. Let's see how this goes. I don't know how it's going to work. Could be great. Could be horrible. I think I'm just going to have to keep the volume very low and hope for the best. Y'all remember voice quills?
Hello.
Oh, voice quills. Could you say hi again?
Hello. Oh, I know what it is.
You're coming out of one channel, I think.
Is it fixed now?
Wait, try again?
Hello, is this only on one channel or both?
Yeah, it's only on one channel still. Hear you pretty well, but
How about
I think it's still one channel. I'm not sure why that is. I remember we'd had this problem before.
yeah, and usually
Oh, there, it just got fixed.
we all good?
I believe we are all good.
Hey, good. All
How are
right.
you, Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good. Also, sorry, I'm a bit distracted here because I'm trying to get the levels right, so it's not going to come through. I was not prepared for this yet, so I'm. Let me just turn that down a little bit, and it should be okay. All right. Hopefully that works. So,
Yeah.
hi. Man,
Hello.
I have been to your channel recently. I went there maybe a week ago, or something like that. You're like blowing up.
Yeah,
Wha-
it's starting to get a little crazy how quickly it's climbing up.
Like, how?
I
Teach
I mean,
me.
I've been uploading a video every single day since the 4th of October. So that probably has something to do with it.
Holy crap. Yeah, like I don't
Yeah.
understand. That's an amazing amount of dedication. So how do you work? Do you do it in sort of a batch, or do you literally like,
I do it like every day. So like normally I have like it depends. Some days I'll have to go out and hunt for a while to find a meme I want. Other times like I have built up like a backlog of ones. There's like a pile I have where I'm like, right, I'll do this one or that one. And I'll just pull it up, record on the day, slap it into Vegas, maybe do some editing if it needs it, like for video stuff, and then upload it and put it live straight away.
so how about when it comes to ideas? Like, are you worried? Like, so you've established this velocity for yourself, which is pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
The videos I've seen of yours are out there. Like, I don't know how you come up with these ideas, right? But I've seen other content creators, right, who are similar, right? For me, if I get an idea once a week, that's like a fantastic velocity for me, right? So I wonder like if you can source your ideas, like, do you know where it comes from? And two, are you worried that you have set some kind of cadence for yourself that you might not be able to keep up with long term?
I guess in terms of ideas, usually it's like, so say if I look at like a meme or a post or something, I'll have a vague idea when I read it or see it, what it'll sound like in my head. And there'll be like some, I'll record some, listen back to it. Sometimes like, and now it doesn't work. There's been a few times where I've recorded more than what's written to add like a little extra, and then when I've come to edit in, I'm like, nah, this just adds too much weight. It's like too much extra time, or it like ruins the joke. Cut it out. So it kind of is a bit spontaneous. There's some where I look at and I kind of mull it over for a day or two and do something different on that day instead, and then come back to that first one later on. So it depends. A lot of them, it's like I look at it on the day and I'm like, yes, this, I know what I'm doing. Like the one I did today where it's the you are what you eat, I guess I'm batteries. I just sort of knew in my head already what the little kitten sounded like, just like just a little crybaby. You know, it was just sort of instinctual, I guess.
And I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so, and forgive me for like, I don't remember the names, but I feel like one of the first videos of yours that really took off might have been an Elder Scrolls themed video, or am I?
Yeah. So there was one where it was, oh, what was it? I think it was the
There's some,
cultural devolution of the Dunmer, and it was
yeah, it was
like,
dumber. I remember there was definitely like some dumber stuff
yeah,
involved there with
and
Vivek
it
or
was
something.
like, yeah, it was like there was the original like you know, did nothing but eat glass and cigarettes all their life voice, and then the slightly more like fanciful Oblivion one, and then like the British Chav Skyrim one. And that got like 100,000 views in like a couple of days. And at the time, I was like, "Holy shit, this is
That's
incredible!"
nuts.
And then now one video recently took off, and it was one where it was like a knight being like, "I'll take your hands, dragon," and then he's proposing to her. And that one got like 300,000 views in less than 24 hours.
That's nuts. That's
It's
nuts. That is, I would kill, kill Ted Cruz for those kinds of numbers.
it's like it's hit or miss though, because there's some that like I put a lot of work into. Like there was one, I feel like I'm just shilling on my videos now. There was
Don't
one I
please
did.
shill.
So Elden Ring came out, and I fucking love it. And I did a meme version of the intro where it was like going through all the different like famous tarnished lords and all that. But I did it with other voice actors. So it was stuff like I'm thinking, oh, what were they all? There was like Tash Ritter, Chieftain of the Grifters, Sir Segi Virginia, the all voicing, all that kind of stuff. And I spent ages like getting PNGs and then mapping it to the faces, like just putting it there and then moving it like frame by frame to keep it all consistent, fading out at the right time. And that video still only has like 11,000 views or something. Yeah,
This is
14,000.
this
But
has been like the I think this is the scourge of like most video creators' existence is that in no way generally does the amount of effort put into a video reflect how it's going to perform, right? It's just hard to know what that magic sauce is that's going to make people
yeah,
click, right? Do you do, I don't remember if you do shorts, or I know they're short generally, but like, are they technically shorts, YouTube
I
shorts, or are they?
don't think so, because I put them out in like a 1920 by 1080, and I
Oh,
think
okay,
because it's
then
not like
yeah,
a vertical,
shorts
it
is
doesn't
very
fit it in
vertical.
shorts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Have you expanded, like, have you expanded beyond YouTube? Have you gone to
I've
any of
tried,
those
like I
other?
post everything on Twitter as well, and some things do better on Twitter than on YouTube. Um, Although the views overall on Twitter are less, there's more interaction. There's like more people commenting, saying like, "Oh, this was amazing," or sharing it around. And I tried TikTok, but they kept hitting my videos with like, "This contains like sexual content and nudity," and it just like I just say "dick" at some point in the video, and then that'd be it. And I just say "dick,"
Really?
that's it, and they're like,
TikTok?
"Yep,
Well, I would think, really? I don't know
yeah,
why I'm surprised, but like I'm not on TikTok, so I don't really know. But it seems to me like they're, if anything, a little more liberal with what they allow than YouTube is. But I guess I'm
yeah."
wrong.
It's weird. I mean, I've had some on YouTube where like they've hit the video for like it's age restricted, and I've went back. There was one I went back to and was like, "Please, just don't," and they took it off. Um, which was kind of crazy. There was one that like again another one I put a lot of work into was 8 fucking bears, and I went and played Magic the Gathering Arena, the PC game, and then put the 8 fucking bears meme card over one of the cards I played, and like was acting like, "Holy shit, it's 8 fucking bears, we've got it, we've won!" And then they were like, "Yeah, no, too much swearing," you know, and then deemed it to algorithm hell to never be seen.
I know that YouTube has that thing where like if you can curse, but you
Mm,
can't curse like in the first couple of minutes or something. Like if you have
yeah,
like if you have a 30-minute video and you curse like in the last 10 minutes, there's no problem with that apparently.
yeah,
But if you curse within like the first 30 seconds for some reason, I don't know why that
yeah,
makes any difference at all. I
yeah,
guess maybe it has something to do with like, you know how when you hover and a video will autoplay, Maybe they don't want
Well,
cursing to show up in those hovers. I don't know what the reasoning is, right? Like, but I've also run into that where it's been like yes, there was cursing in the first whatever amount of time, and that's why. And when I've had videos with way more cursing or way more adult type content, but was 15, 20 minutes into the video. So I'm wondering, I know like at least maybe it wasn't the last time we talked, but when we were talking earlier, you were all in on voice acting, right? The video thing was a way for you, correct me if I'm wrong, just one, sort of work on your voice acting chops, two, to get like a portfolio up and going, right? And three, to express yourself, right?
yeah.
So I'm guessing like this was unexpected, right?
Yeah, I think I kind of hoped that it would like get big, because obviously like, the bigger it gets, the more chance of someone seeing it. Like I've had a few people now actually reach out to me. There was actually a bit of work I did a couple of weeks ago where it was like a 2.5 hour live recording session for a game demo, like an indie game demo. And the guy found me because he found my YouTube videos and
That's
looked and
awesome.
saw like the range I had and was like, fuck it, your voice. Like, so we went through and I voiced like the main character and then like a bunch of guards and then a bunch of like homeless people and bar patrons and shopkeeper. Like I just went through and voiced like everything.
So this is probably goes beyond, just tell me that you're not comfortable answering this, but are you now like in a position where you're like, okay, I am more comfortable now with saying like, this is what is going to be my living, and putting all of your effort here and getting a commensurate return?
Not yet. I mean, I would like to. I've certainly auditioned. In fact, there's like 2 jobs I auditioned for on like a pay to audition website where it was like $5,000 and like $7,000 for another. But I don't think I'm gonna get them, but may as well give it a try.
Wait a second. You paid
Yes.
that
So
much to audition?
yes. No. Sorry. So the website is voices.com, and in order, you can make an account and you can receive private auditions for free, but they have to like find you. But if you want to see the global list of like auditions put out there that aren't like private ones, you need to pay, I think it's $500 a year
Okay.
to see them all. And then I think the minimum like pay is like $100 or something. And the website takes like 20% cut. So if it's like $100 job, you get $80 for it.
Okay, I think I misinterpreted or I misunderstood what you had said. Okay.
Okay.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know I think you might have been cutting out for a second there, but well, I'm like, I think it's pretty amazing. Like within what is it, a year maybe tops?
I think I really started posting on YouTube like and going for voice acting August 2020 was around when I started. And
then
I've
posting
kind of,
daily since late last year,
yeah,
and
it's
I mean,
now really starting to go.
and that must feel awesome. Like I mean, I see people with millions of subscribers whose videos get 15, 20,000 views, right? And I've seen people. It does seem like it's harder now to get subscribers, just generally to get subscribers, period, right? But you have people sometimes whose subscriber numbers and their video numbers like are inverted from the case I just described, where like every video will get hundreds of thousands of views, and the creator might only have like 50,000 or 25,000 subscribers or something like that. And then you have these I guess they're older channels that have been around for a while, back when there I guess weren't as many channels to subscribe to, so people weren't maybe as picky when it came to subscribing. They actually maybe did subscribe more, but ended up watching far less. And I'm sure like so many people just have hundreds of channels they subscribe to, that they haven't looked at in years, right? Yeah. And they're just sitting there with these subs. They might as well be dead accounts, right? So it's interesting and I'm sure you use like Social Blade and stuff to like kind of see how things are trending, et cetera.
Yeah, I take a wee peek every now and again, mainly just to see like they have like the subscriber milestones when it's like when it thinks you're gonna hit certain numbers.
Yeah.
I've been keeping an eye on the 100,000, and before it was like, oh, you're gonna hit that in like 2024, and then it was like mid 2023, and now it's saying like December, and it's been creeping up constantly, and I'm just waiting to hit it before the end of the year.
That would be awesome. So will you feature your plaque in scene when you get it?
What do you mean, like?
You're gonna
what, like
hang it. Yeah, the 100,000 plaque.
Oh God, I don't even know where I'd put it, to be honest. Like I don't.
I mean, you're definitely. It's gonna happen right in the next few months, right? So.
Well, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is
like
pretty amazing. I'm super happy for you.
It's become weird the amount of times where like, because obviously I do like male female voices, and there's like loads of people in the comments who are like, like trans people commenting, being like, holy shit, like you're inspiring me to actually go out and try or to do voice training, or holy shit, this is possible, you can do both. And it is weird that now when I was a little kid and I wanted to be a YouTuber like Markiplier and BootyPie and all that, and now I'm kind of getting into that position where people are now looking up to me as a content creator. It's kind of surreal,
And especially for it to happen that quickly. I guess when it happens, it generally does kind of happen pretty quickly, right? I know there are cases where people put in years of graft and just kind of slowly rise, but usually, like, especially the way the algorithm works, right? Like, you don't get that kind of an opportunity generally, right? You're presented and you either take off or you don't. It's like, here's your chance to take off. Are you going to do it? Yes, great, you do it. If not, no, you're not really going to get a second bite at that apple. So I think, I'm just super happy that this happened for you.
Thank you.
Was there something else you wanted to talk about? Did you want to talk about data?
Oh, hey. I for one wouldn't be one to click on a ad for Ted Cruz fan fiction. I'd be the one to just go and find that myself. I'm not clicking an ad. I don't know what's going to be behind that,
So it's not the content that would have put you off of that. It is that the ad would have misrepresented where it was actually taking you.
Yeah, like the amount of times where I've seen an ad for something, because I'll do this, I'll see an ad and I'll be like interested in what it's showing me, but rather than click on the ad itself, I'll just Google like the name or what I saw and find it that way, because I've got an ad blocker on anyway, but it doesn't get everything.
Right, exactly right. You just never know, right? So using ads as like kindling for what it is that you want to go look for on your own, I think is probably the safest way to do it. Is that your way of saying that you have searched for Ted Cruz erotic fan fiction?
I will neither confirm nor deny. No, that's not quite my ballpark.
Can you do a Texas accent?
Oh God. Can I? The moment I think
putting
about
you
it,
on
I
the
can't.
spot.
Yeah, like a kind of a bit of a southern drawl. I mean, it ain't that good, but I can try by the very least.
I'm in Red Dead Redemption right now.
Yeah, I'm just fucking like Arthur Morgan. Like, well, I actually took a class with Roger Clark. He's such a nice guy, like genuinely so friendly.
When you say class with, you mean he was teaching it or he was in it?
Yeah. So. There's a voice actor called Victoria Atkin, and she runs a bunch of classes. And usually she'll teach 1 or 2 of the weeks, and then the other 4 or 5 weeks, she gets other voice actors in to like sort of teach a specific thing. So it might be here's one for animation, then here's another person for commercial work. And there was, I think the first class I had with her, I was like brand new baby-faced voice actor here for my first ever professional class. And first week was Roger Clark, who was Arthur Morgan, and then it was Roger Craig Smith, who's like, Sonic. And
Roger Clark, I knew. I hadn't heard of the other one you just mentioned there.
Yeah, Roger Craig Smith, and then I can't remember who else was in that first session. But there was stuff like Deborah Wilson, who voices like so many people in a bunch of like shows and games. God, who else? I'm trying to remember them all. I've been in that many classes now. But it's like the amount of times I've now met voice actors who are voiced in like super like high-end production stuff that I've loved or like watched or played.
What sort of thing goes on in those classes? I imagine it's not like technical know-how. They're not like teaching you mic technique or something, right? Like what are they going over?
So the way it worked in Victoria's classes is that about the week before, like a couple days before the class, there'd be an email out with like a homework packet basically, and like here's a couple of slides for like commercial auditions or game auditions, or here are some like lines to do, and you would do them and record them and send them in before the lesson, and the person who was doing it would listen to it with everyone else. Like it would basically listen to live and then give you critique about it, which was oh my god. This is like when I was first getting comfortable, and I remember it was like the first one was for a mobile game, and I think they're all like legit. These were like ones used for the audition. These weren't just like made up most of the time. There was a lot of them were like, these are the actual slides, don't share these. And it was like a sniper for like a mobile game, and I was like, in my sights, and I was like, oh god, this is so awful. But everyone was like super nice and kind, and that was Roger Clark. He was like, no, that sounded great. I would have went with that. And it's like, oh my god.
Wow. Yeah,
So-
like, I mean, my limited experience with any kind of schooling like that when it comes to like critiquing art or whatever it is like, the students are vicious.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that might be like a defense mechanism. I don't know, but I would be like, I was thinking like, oh, well, maybe they'll talk to you about like, I guess I was wondering if it was more like almost marketing, like how to get yourself to stand out, because obviously like,
They do.
go ahead, sir.
They do kind of cover that as well, like how to really stand out as like, and when you're doing an audition, like just in terms of how it sounds, or like it's hard to like put into words, but it's like someone trying to be seductive versus someone who is being seductive.
Yeah.
There's like you can tell the difference. It's like that.
It's sort of the difference between Pink Floyd with Syd Barrett and Pink Floyd with Roger Waters, where you had Pink Floyd with Syd Barrett was music being written from the point of someone who was going insane. Pink Floyd with Roger Waters was music being written about someone who went insane, but it was still a sane person that was doing it, right? Like there's it's ersatz, I guess might be the word to describe it. That like for me, what kind of stands out is like, or what concerns me, I suppose, and I'm guessing that like I'm hoping that most people in the gaming industry, at least, are not as blasé about how they select voice actors as maybe I was. There were times when you'd get the auditions coming in, and we would have agencies that were covering it, and they'd send maybe 50 or 60 people, and often like it would be like, okay, here's this person, and they're reading for 10 of the characters, right? And so you'd have these folders with the person, and sometimes even just like getting through them could be so arduous that something as like ridiculous as, does your name begin with Z or end with your first name or last name end with Z, and were you therefore at the bottom of my folder list, and therefore I'd never even listened to you, right? Like before a decision was made. Like, do you get that have you ever heard that kind of feedback where like,
Yeah. So like a few times if like, I mean, there's been multiple times where I've auditioned for stuff, even on like that pay to access site where I've auditioned for something, thought I nailed it, I've got it, this is it, this is the time. And then it gets completed without even listening to my audition. And like, it sucks. But like a lot of time as well, it'll be a case of, you'll send something in and they'll listen for the first like 5-6 seconds. And if they don't hear something that pulls them in straight away,
Right.
skip, next one. So if you don't catch them right off the bat, then you've lost already,
Right.
basically.
and another thing, at least for now, I'm guessing for really big money games, this isn't the issue, but when I was working on smaller games, it was also like, we have 20 characters we need to voice. What's the bare minimum number of voice actors we can hire to do this? So if you have like one voice actor who like, maybe they're not quite as stand out for one character, but they did like 6 characters, right? And they did a pretty good job. We would be more likely to pick that person because it's like, well, we only have the budget to really hire like a couple, maybe 4 or 5 people to cover these characters. We can't just pick the best voice for each character, because then we're likely going to have 20 voice actors that we're paying. And it's much cheaper to pay somebody to voice 6 characters than it is to pay 6 people to voice those characters. So I also wonder if like that was advice that you ever got. I guess I just wonder like how siloed The stuff I worked on was versus like the game industry at large. If you were ever told like, hey, it's good to audition with like a broad number of voices or a lot of characters. So essentially you're seen as like a good deal, right? Like you can get more than one cast as more than one character.
I don't think I've heard anything like specifically to that. There's been I think the general thing I've had is like audition for as much stuff as possible. Well, audition for a lot, but make sure each one is unique. Basically, you want to make each of them stand out, because if you send in like, for at least for professional, like I guess there's a distinction between like professional and indie work, I guess. So like there'd be some indie projects that are like advertising that they've got a casting call on Twitter and there's like 8 characters. You'd probably be fine sending in a thing for all 8, but it's probably better to limit yourself to about 3 that you really can go for and can really make different. And then they might have like, oh, well, this would work for that. And they kind of like add you on to other roles as they go. Because the main issue is if you go for like more than that, you're probably not going to make everything sound as distinct as you would if you were focusing on just the 3.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I guess that could work against you too, because if someone, let's say you do 8, right, and 4 of them are great, 3 of them are and one of them is like, well, I'm just going to do this 8th one, but it's not great. It's actually not very good. And what if they listen to that 8th one first, and then you're sort of classified by the lowest the lowest bar that you set of that group? I would guess it just seems like a morass of like how you figure out it's kind of like the YouTube algorithm. Like how do you best position yourself to be one to like get heard, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Willie Ames. He's an actor from sitcoms in the 80s. He was in like 8 is Enough and Charles in Charge and stuff like that. But his name is Willie Ames, Aames, which is not his real name, and he literally changed his name to Ames so that he would be at the top of any alphabetically arranged sheet. Now, his first name was Willie, so hopefully they're organizing by last name, not
by
first
last
name. Yeah, he'd been better off being Aaron Ames or something, right? Like if that was what he was going for. But it is sort of like can you really just count on the quality of your performance, or do you have to like take all this other crap into account in order to try and get work, which I would imagine would be really demoralizing, right? If that's what that's what you have to think about.
I think most of the time it's about quality, and then I'd say it's probably kind of luck or timing are probably the best, because like that pay to play site voices.com, they list the auditions in order of like time of submission. So if you get in on something and you're like the 3rd person, and then like 50 people audition after you, you're 3rd on the list.
Oh, okay.
But if 50 people have auditioned before you, like regardless of like name, if
they're
50
probably
people
going
and
to
you're
grab someone
first,
before they get to the 50th person, right?
Yeah. I think the general rule I've heard is if there's less than 50, go for it. If there's more than 50, you're probably not going to get it.
Are there any other agencies that you've been looking at besides that one?
I've had a look around, but a lot of the ones that have like the big paying jobs, like even like decent paying ones, are themselves pay to play. There's even one I've heard about where like I get emails from them every week, like, here's all these casting calls that you could have done if you were on premium.
Ooh,
But
that's
there's
annoying.
people who, where it's like I'm looking at, and like most of these I can't even do anyway, but whatever. But I've seen a few tweets from voice actors who pay the top dollar version of that website, and they still get emails from them saying, oh, here's all the things you've missed out on that you could. And it's like they're literally paying the highest level subscription you offer.
And they're still
aren't they
getting an
also seeing
upsell.
all these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of LinkedIn Premium, right? Like I remember there was a time where I was like, okay, yeah, got to do LinkedIn Premium so you can see who's looking at your profile, right? That's kind of there's a strange overlap between those sites and like even the way like dating sites work and stuff.
I was
right?
just going to say, it's like Tinder.
Yeah, it's very bizarre to think about it that way. But I mean, I guess human behavior is kind of the same, regardless if you're talking about voice acting or whatever. So, so your success on YouTube has led, you think, to some additional, to some additional voice work already.
Yeah, like it's mainly small bits and pieces, nothing like huge. I've had a couple of like things come through that were somewhat bigger. There was an anime that actually came through that I auditioned for but didn't get. Um, but that was also before I got, it's actually out of frame, but I can move that. I got that bad boy,
Oh yeah, look at that. That deadens
like a
your
proper,
little
yeah,
vocal
a
booth
proper
there.
actual vocal booth rather than just open air with some soundproofing. So that definitely helped. It's what I recorded my new like character demo in, which even in terms of that, like I recorded like, they were both self-made, so I wrote the scripts myself, did all the mixing myself, all the music and stuff. I like found Creative Commons and all that, put it
Yeah.
together. And the difference in quality from the voice acting alone in less than 2 years is an insane difference.
When you say quality, though, are you saying the quality, the actual, just like the sound quality? Or are you saying like, was there this sort of sympathetic circle whereby like you hearing yourself sound better, maybe even made you perform better, and it was just kind of like a feeding back into itself?
I think it was maybe that, and just in general, the quality of my voice acting as a person
Oh,
is
okay.
better. Like I can, let me see if I can. I know I've got the new one. Where is the? If I just search on my channel for demo, I can find.
So do you look at like some of your old stuff and you're like, oh no, this is this?
Yeah, there's some stuff I look back and it's like, oh, that still holds up, but it's more of like luck than actual like thing. Like there was like, oh shit, that was actually a decent take. I did okay on that video, and then a lot of them I'm like, oh god, this is so bad. Like I think I can. Yeah, is there a chat thing? Oh, that's just going a thingy to actual chat. So I'll email them across. That'll be the easiest way to show you, and you can get a feeling.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Old. And new. Even the presentation is so much better because the new one uses like proper art. It's just in general so much more professional. The new one.
So am I looking for? Oh, I see a couple people wrote in as well, so I've sent links to them. Okay, here we go. All right, so which one am I doing first?
So there's an old one. Well, like, probably best to go old than new. So I'm assuming chat can see this as well.
Let's see if I'm not sure how we're gonna see how this works. But which is the old one actually? Because I'm just seeing.
Oh, it's the one that's got like the Elder Scrolls styled one, the thingy, the one that's like just
Okay,
the
so that's the old
picture and
one?
then yeah, the old one, and then the new one's the one with the white background and the purple strip.
Okay, let's see if I can get this to show up without. Actually, this may be difficult. Hold on a second. I always hate just going to my desktop. You never know what fan fiction I have on my desktop. Okay, it may go. You're gonna get a. Let's change this to. All right, so hopefully people are seeing this now. Ashley, are you seeing the image of you?
I can see it on thingy. Well, I can yeah, I can see like the video in the background of the thing. I don't see myself on it, unless that's what you mean.
Oh, here, let's see if I just close.
Like I don't need to be on screen.
Right, while it's playing.
Yeah. Because I'll just be cringing.
Okay, let's see if I don't know what's going to happen with the volume on this, but we'll see what happens.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, hold on one sec. Let me. No, not that. System audio. Oh, I'm so woefully unprepared for this. Sorry. Do I need to unmute the tab? Is the tab muted? I don't think so. Oh yeah, site was muted. Okay. Hopefully this works.
Yeah.
Nope. Nothing coming through. Hold on.
It's not huge. I can post them in the Discord if that's easiest.
Yeah, I think unfortunately I'm not prepared to play from. I don't
That's
know what's
fine.
going on here. This is bizarre that it's not coming through. Yeah, apologies. I think I'm not. I'm just very unprofessional. Very unprofessional.
I'm probably the least professional.
But so you're saying like the difference between those is, are you able to? Well, you can't link them in the chat either, right? You'd have to go to the Discord to see them.
Yeah, I've linked them there. I think actually. Wait, hold on. Am I able to share my screen and play it through that? Would that
Probably.
work?
You
Can try.
probably.
it. Let's let's give it a shot.
Let me full screen you. Hold on a second. I think I can.
Share screen. I need to be on Google Chrome and I'm on Firefox.
Oh, bummer.
All right. Well, never mind then.
Okay. So, well, we gave it.
Yeah, give
We'll
it a
give it a
shot.
shot.
It's in the BtDRD, the Beyond the Lower Doors Town Hall bit on Discord. If people want to check it out.
And what is your? Are these actually available on your YouTube channel as well now, or are they hidden?
Yeah,
somewhere?
they're on my YouTube channel. Yeah, they're just available. I think I unlist the old one just because it's old. I think no, it's still up there. My old one's still there. I should
Are
probably.
you
unlist
ever
that.
worried? Yeah, are you ever worried that someone would stumble across that one and it wouldn't be
Not
representative
the
of what
new
you?
one. Yeah, I should probably change that. I can probably change that now actually, just to make it easiest. See, I should have thought of these things ahead of time, but I have not unlisted. There we go. So yeah. Plus my new one is like got even more views, I believe, and it's like pinned to the first video people will see when they look at the channel. So hey, thanks, Q.
Well, I'm super happy for you, and I'm predicting great things in the future. Nolan North has nothing on you, and I'm still glad that you come to these and hang out from time to time, because now it's sort of like,
I've missed quite a few of them because like work and all that. But I mean, I do plan on going to more of them as time allows.
Yeah, darn. Is that wine in that cup?
No, I wish it's just Ribena.
Oh, okay. Ribena, that's like, I don't even really know what Ribena is except through British humor. Like that's how
It's
I
like
hear about it.
it's like a blackcurrant diluting juice,
Sounds
like
great.
a squash. So yeah.
That sounds amazing. Well, thank you for calling in, Ashley. We have someone else to talk with, but so I wanted to kind of move it along. But I'm super happy for your success, and I know it's just a matter of time at this point, right? Like somebody's gonna cast you in a major role, and I mean, look, the way that it seems to work is the moment you get like one major role, then
It leads to more.
yeah, it's just going to be a giant cascade, and then we'll never see you again. So while you're still available to hobnob with us, I'm glad to have you here as long as you'll stay.
Hey, if you want me to voice in something in the future, just let me know. I'll be down.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Like I can say that without even like I'll just make something up to have your voice. What's your favorite voice to do?
Oh God, I have too many. If you want the one that's closest to an ASMR one that
Yeah.
people talk about, was one I did for a relaxing like, oh hey, you found our campfire, join us around, tell us it's like thingy. It seems you've reached our camp. Come, adventurer, sit by the fire and tell us the stories you know.
You're hired. I can pay you like up to $40. It's gonna be fantastic for us both.
Hey,
All right, thank you, Ash. We'll talk soon.
hell yeah.
All right,
See you around.
take care. Okay, because of the fact that voice canceling can't be used. I got to turn the fan back on real quick, and then we have somebody else to join us. But again, while I turn the fan on for your enjoyment.
Which is a tradition we have now where all the guests that come on write a question for the next guest. So there is a question there for you. But the guest wrote a question which changed his life, which is, are you happy? And from reading your work and understanding your position on happiness and it not being the thing to aim for, which really struck me because I thought, I thought life was the North Star of our lives was to try and be happy. I guess my question is,
I kind of like just having, now y'all probably hear the fan pretty loud. Sorry for that. I like just being on that frame there where Jordan Peterson is out of focus in the background before it focuses on him.
Which is a tradition we have now where all the guests that come on write a question
Like,
for
I
the
feel
next
like-
guest. So there is a question there for you.
Right.
But the guest wrote a question which changed
about-
his life, which is, are you happy? And from reading your work and understanding your position on happiness and it not being the thing to aim for, which
Okay.
really struck
There.
me because
There we go. Like I enjoy this frame. Just a blurry Jordan Peterson, arms folded, which I understand is my default position as well. You can see his nice watch. Look, his watch band matches his jacket. He's got an interesting color palette. Actually, it goes with his hair. Like his entire ensemble is color coordinated, which is pretty amazing. Look, the guy's, got an abysmal personal world view, but his sense of style, I don't know. I kind of like it. So I want to bring someone on who's new. Well, kind of new. New to talk to, but unless I'm mistaken, we know this person via another person, I think. So let me just bring them on. This is Jeff, and hopefully, we may have another audio issue. We'll find out. Jeff, can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh,
Yes, I can.
and we can hear you. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but you are Lexi's partner. Is that correct? Am I totally wrong on this?
Am I what?
Do you know Lexi?
I think you cut out a second. Oh, well, she's sitting right next to me.
Okay, so yes, all right. So I actually went out on a limb and said something that I was like, oh no, did I get this totally wrong? This is not the person that I think it is. But it seems like that's right. Can everybody hear Jeff okay? I think, could you say like maybe say your name and like a brief intro?
Hey, I'm Jeff. How's it going?
That's perfect.
I usually don't spend a lot of time talking about myself. Ooh, there's a little bit deeper. I'm like hearing myself back in the head. AirPods. Sorry.
Yeah, there's probably like a little latency, which is the thing like I try like heck to eliminate, because if it's going on when I'm talking, I start to slow down to try and let it catch up, which of course never works and just makes me sound like there's something wrong with me. But you wanted to talk about so if you're with Alexa, you're in Louisiana, is it? Missouri? Somewhere in the South, right?
Yes.
Without getting too specific. So
I'm
now
gonna
I
try
can
and switch
see.
out some earbuds, see if that helps some.
Okay. I can see Lexi in the wide screen view, but in this kind of cropped aspect ratio that you're here, I only see you. Unless I were to do this. Oh, there we go.
So now I can see. Oh, there she is.
There we go. So Jeff, what is it that you do, or you wanted to talk about data? Do you do something that would make you interact with data in a certain way, or feel? Are you prejudiced against data collection in any way? Are you over 45 and do you live in the Capitol Hill area?
I am over 45, though. Yes.
There's no way you're over 45.
I'm actually 47.
There's no way that you're 47. I don't appreciate you lying. Are you seriously? You're 47?
Yeah. Well, it gets hard to add. I'm be 47 this December. So when it comes at the end of the year, sometimes it's like, oh, am I at that point yet? But yeah, I'll be 47 in December.
How did you manage to live for 46 years?
Well, my grandfather is going to be 96. So
Wow.
I think it's just, I got lucky with genetics.
So you're not even, by that metric, you're not even yet at midlife, right? A couple of years from now, you'll have your midlife crisis. That's still in the future for you.
I don't know. I've spent a lot of time looking up guitars, saving money for guitars, and I guess people could say that's my midlife crisis. I just went through a process of redoing my entire recording setup, and I felt like I was going through a midlife crisis. So it's like, you know,
Wait,
I had to get glasses, and they're progressive lenses, and I'm like, yeah, I'm an old man.
when did you get those glasses? Because I think I need them now. And it's annoying to me, and I'm
About
resisting
2 months ago.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've been resisting it. I've just been like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't, like, when I have the phone.
Well, when I was looking at my Fitbit, I was like, I can't see, and I just.
This is my problem. My problem with my phone now is I have to go like this a little bit, right? Which is, well, actually, it's fine on this
funny.
phone, but
Lexi's mom was telling me I frown when I look at my phone.
that you frown when you look at your phone.
Apparently, I'm trying to read it.
So people are saying in the chat that you are Brad Pitt in the chat. I didn't even know that. So I did not know.
That's news to me. I missed.
Oh wait, so you're not Brad Pitt in the chat. I'm being trolled a little bit.
No.
Okay, no, yeah. They're saying, or are you trolling me? Someone is trolling me. Either Chad is trolling me or you are trolling me. Either way,
Okay, then.
So I know we're supposed to talk about data, but you mentioned something about guitars, and you kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, so do you collect guitars?
Sort of, kind of. It started out where I had my regular 6-string, and it was just a basic budget Schecter, and it met what I wanted to do. I started out as a bass player because I played trombone in high school, so it was a bass clef for instrument, and I just ran with it there. And then with new technology, I could write and record stuff on my own. So I moved to guitar, and then it became, oh, I want to learn this song. And they're all in different tunings. One's down a half step, one's like in drop B. So I ended up getting more guitars, so I didn't have to retune. Change gauge, strings, everything.
Your excuse for buying more guitars is so you didn't have to do beyond standard tuning. You could just have, hey, this is my dadgad guitar. This is my drop D guitar.
Yep.
Sure. Okay, that's a great excuse.
And it's grown. I've got a 7-string, and then there's a 7-string down a half step, and then I had another 7-string that I decided to put 8-string guitar strings on just to play and do weird stuff.
I think that's a pretty elaborate ruse to give you an excuse to buy another guitar. Just be like.
It sounds logical.
Right. I mean, there's a huge difference between like a baritone guitar or a 7-string guitar and, a standard guitar.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, certainly there's an excuse there. But if it's just like, I want one that's always tuned a half step down, then I'm not sure. Do you have a jewel in your collection that you really like, or is it really just like different
What's that?
tools?
You cut.
I'm curious if you have like one
Well,
guitar that's like the jewel in your collection, or is it basically you have different tools for your different tunings, and you just go with what you need for that tuning.
I have the room, but I have a Chapman that I
Chapman
bought
stick?
at a Guitar Center. No, Chapman Guitars. It's a
Oh, Rob Chapman
guitar
guitars.
manufacturer. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
yes, sorry, that's the.
Uh,
I think like the old school Chapman stick, but yes, I know who Rob Chapman is. Yes.
oh yeah. But when Hurricane Laura hit, Lexi and I were staying at my dad's in Houston for about a month until
Oh,
things stopped here. And I found that at a Guitar Center that was at a reasonable price. And
yeah,
it
Chapmans
was
are
one
not
of
cheap.
those things that it was, I don't want to like throw out a number,
No, no, no,
but
but
it
Chapmans
was
are not cheap.
dented and everything, so they marked it down insanely. I mean, it was cosmetically not perfect, but the
Was that from the
pickups were
hurricane? Do you know?
wonderful. The fretboard.
Like, did it actually get damaged in the hurricane? Is that what you're saying there? Or is this, it was
Oh no,
just
no, no! This was in Houston.
okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was just something I got to help me work out a lot of my feelings and my frustrations. I ended up writing a lot of stuff on that guitar with my laptop while I was in Houston. So it kind of it holds a place in my heart. We commonly call it the Laura guitar,
The Laura
and
guitar?
after the hurricane.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was Hurricane Laura. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Um,
have some bad
it
experiences
was my
with.
first.
Sorry, go ahead. I know we have a bit of a lag, but yeah, I have some bad experiences with hurricanes myself, particularly like Hurricane Andrew when it came through Miami
Ooh,
in like 1991 or 1990. Yeah, 1991, I think it was. Um, I would never name a guitar after it, but Laura is a I don't know. Andrew's a fine name as well. um, so you have a guitar named after Laura. That's a Chapman. That's a Rob Chapman guitar, and that's probably your favorite. Is that what I'm hearing?
yeah. It's yeah, yeah. It's one of my favorites. I have another Chapman that's just one of their budget ones, an ML1. So
And you record pieces like using a DAW and sort of doing. Do you do like electronic drums, bass, and everything, and then you lay down guitar on top of that? Like, do you have entire pieces that you do?
yeah, I've got I think about I think 8, 10 songs that I've released through what is this site? It's a distributor, DistroKid. So it's on Spotify, Amazon Music, all that kind of stuff. And it's nothing fancy. It's just you kind of get a kick out of the fact that somebody listens to your stuff. So it's mostly instrumental, progressive metal type stuff. There's a few things where I did vocals, and I don't think I found my voice when it came to singing. I don't think I will. But it's just an avenue to get, it's like exercise, get it out of my system and kind of just let it go wherever it is. Like my most streamed song was a cover of the Game of Thrones song.
Oh wow! Where and is that? So I know you said that's on Spotify. Is it also like? Do you have YouTube versions of these?
It does kick out to YouTube, but I've not really messed with it a lot. I do have a channel since I have an account, and I put a few videos up. but it's nothing impressive. Anything, I might need to private them after this, because I think I had a show band when I was teaching at a school. So there's a few videos from that. There was, I think, solo contests that I posted some for. So that's about all that's there.
So if people want it, like if I understand, like maybe you're saying like there's a place you would direct people for the stuff you would want people to hear. That would be more Spotify.
It would most definitely be, Spotify or whatever streaming site they use. It's available there.
And is it under your name
under
or is it
Jeff Broussard?
You know, you're. It's a little unfortunate. You share a name with a fairly, or at least a pretty famous game developer. I don't know if you're aware of that. He was one of the founders.
I didn't.
Yeah, there's a Jeff Broussard who was one of the founders of 3D Realms, who created Duke Nukem and did a lot of like early Doom work, Doom clone work. So like Duke Nukem Forever. Jeff Broussard was him and Scott. He had a partner, Scott something. I'm forgetting his name right now. But it's funny, when I saw your name, that's immediately what I thought of. And so if somebody's like searching Jeff Broussard, I wonder if that's, let's see. Does that come up?
Well, it's kind of funny. Whenever, like, I used to teach in the classroom up until about 5 years ago. And now I've moved into a district role where there was also another Jeff Broussard who did Zydeco music. So my students would drive past the nightclub where he was going to, and they were like, "Oh, Mr. B, are you playing at Cowboys this weekend?" Which is the nightclub. And it's like, no, that's
Different.
the other guy.
And I just looked it up, and it's actually George Broussard is the name that I'm thinking of, not Jeff Broussard. So I was wrong. But I frequently am. So what's the guitar count right now?
I'm going to embarrass myself. I sold one. So there's
5 in the back on the walls.
And then the one under the bed.
I forgot the ones on the bed. I think he got like 12.
Yeah, there's 12, but then that also does count bass guitars. Because I've got a 4-string, a 5-string bass, and way back whenever I was full tilt Dream Theater, I've got a 6-string John Mayung signature series. So
You said when you were full Dream Theater.
That was well, they are still my favorite band, but like there was a phase where I practiced day in and day out, and I was about 90% of a goal accomplished to play Scenes from a Memory from beginning to end. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the album, but it was The Dance of Eternity, where I just I had to tap out.
I mean, really, like almost any Dream Theater, right, is if you're looking for something to challenge, and really like on any instrument, like you're a drummer, play some Dream Theater. Right? You can pretty much any one of their instruments are pretty difficult to master. But so the stuff that you do and that you've recorded now, you say it's progressive. Is it progressive metal like in the Dream Theater vein, or is it?
Oh, it's nowhere near that caliber. It is like I like to write with an affinity for changing time signatures. So, and they do go long. I like to flesh out an idea. So the average song is somewhere like 5-6 minutes. I've written some stuff that goes a little too long. So in that regards there, but in terms of like the virtuosic playing, um, I'm still not to a level that I want to be. So it's not, John Petrucci, sixlets at like 170,000 beats on minute. So
But who needs that? I mean, if you're in Dream Theater, I guess you need that.
it's one of those things where I want to be able to just to say I could if I wanted to. You gotta rein it in because you gotta make it musical. But if ever you're writing something and it calls for it,
You want to be able.
want to have it.
You don't ever want to be. Yeah, you don't ever want to be caught in a situation where you're reaching for something that's not there, right? Whether maybe you don't ever reach for it, but if you ever do reach for it, you want to be sure that it is there. I totally get that, and I think 12 guitar. Well, 12 guitars is maybe a little bit high, but yeah, maybe a little bit high. But if 4 of those are basses, like I think having 8 tenor or tenor-ish guitars. I mean, I'm outing myself here by saying this a little bit, but it isn't that strange or unusual. Maybe it's a little high, right? But I don't think it's crazy. But I guarantee you, like your data, right? Like, I bet you get a lot of ads for Guitar Center.
What?
Like your cookies, people know you very well.
I don't. I'm pretty sure a lot of it comes from Google, and mostly from our Google. Like, I don't think my ad blockers are gonna like save me from some of that, but like we'll have a conversation in the living room, and I'll log on to whatever, pick your site, and you're scrolling down, and what we talked about in the living room maybe 5 minutes ago will show up in some ad form.
That's so,
whether it's
so creepy.
Shoes, shirts, anything. Yeah, very much so. And I don't know. I've been more surprised at how we accept it. Because, like, what I actually do for a living, I'm a curriculum specialist for social studies in high school. So I've taught that aspect of high school, but then I also like really focusing on sociological aspects of historical or governmental issues. And when it comes to like our acceptance of things like data intrusive ads, I think it's kind of symbolic of where we are as a society, because we've kind of like let it go. Like, I've heard it called memory hole, like you memory hole, like say January 6th, or we kind of like accept things the way they are, and they just kind of like, it's out of your direct control. And it's just weird when you sit back and you look at the big picture of it all, that this is the world that we operate in, but it's also the world that we want. Because would we sacrifice our creature comforts for having the level of privacy we say we want? And I just went on a long spiel.
No, I think, I mean, I feel like what you're saying, I mean, one, it resonated with like, a lot of my feelings on the subject as well, and probably a lot of people in chat. I I guess like for me, like the normalization of having your privacy. Let me ask you a question. Okay. Do you think there's ever a case where, say, Apple should help a government agency unlock a phone? Like, would you, so,
I can't think of an instance.
so there was like a
That's
famous,
a hard one.
yeah, there was like a kind of famous instance of this
I can
where,
come up with one if I thought about it.
right, like for instance, okay, let's just say like there's this person who maybe is, let's say convicted, right? Like even convicted, right? Let's say a convicted pedophile who has a phone, who is maybe being tried for other things, right? And has an Apple phone, which they have, people hate on Apple, right? But they have pretty good security when it comes to keeping your device secure from other people. I mean, so much so that like basically the CIA could not crack a person's Apple phone in this case, and they needed to turn to Tim Cook for help in unlocking the device. Like in a case like that, maybe the line's a little clearer, right? Like maybe it's like, well, this person was convicted of this and that. But then I'm guessing that you, and I don't want to say, so in that case, would you say like, yeah, I think Apple should probably unlock the phone in that case?
Well, it brings a few questions up. So the person's already convicted. So is it another charge?
Yeah.
Is there evidence they expect to find, or is it searching for evidence that they don't know what they'll find? Or like, always been under the impression that the threshold that law enforcement needs for warrants has been creeping down. In the case of a child abduction,
Throwing another variable in there where like time is of the essence, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I guess my first question would be, is it any person, or is it somebody that matches the description? Like, you got to provide some sort of probable cause. And then whenever probable cause is established, it would be the same as any other search, I believe. I think it would, so yeah.
So you would treat like phone data the same way you would like physical space, right? Like kind of like, okay, well, if law enforcement has the go ahead from the state Supreme Court or whatever it is to search your house, that would then maybe extend, like they find the phone in the person's house, right? They have a search warrant to look for particular material like in a person's house. They find their computer, the computer's encrypted, they can crack that easily enough. They have a lot more trouble getting into the person's phone, but I think what I'm hearing you say is that if they had the approval to get the search warrant, then that should include the sort of virtual space that would be on the phone as well as the physical space.
Yeah, and I look at it as the application of the spirit of the law with the changing society. But the problem when it comes to data is that it's collected without regard for any kind of crime, So it's done for capitalistic needs with this hyper-targeted sense. So instead of for saving a child who is abducted, it's so they can target ads and make sure I buy shoes.
Right. So here's where I guess it gets a little messy for me is like it's difficult for me to say that collecting data is in and of itself immoral. Like the collecting of data, is that actually immoral, right? Just the collecting phase, but it is also very difficult for me to say that it isn't, because there's almost no way for us to know like what a valid data point is right now. We could collect a piece of data from you that is something to do with like how many times a day you do a particular thing, right? And that may be of no use at all to anybody today, but because we can't prognosticate with any kind of accuracy the future, right? We don't know that data might not be under a different paradigm that is the future, like extremely important. And you were able to like see this data as really innocuous, right? And something that you were giving up that was just like, well, yeah, you mentioned like the Fitbit on your hand, right? Like you were having trouble seeing, right? So there's data being collected there. I don't know exactly what the arrangement is with Fitbit or who owns Fitbit. And I know I always bring up this sort of Roomba example, but it's just impossible for anyone who is collecting data at scale to know what data is going to be useful and for what purpose in the future. They can maybe know now, and maybe not even now. There may be people who would be like, oh, well, have you thought of this? Well, have you thought of that, right? But then there's stuff that just becomes part of evolving technology in the future that then means that data has use. And you already gave up sort of your right to, in a way, like your right to object, because at the time when this data was innocuous or didn't seem to serve any purpose, I think like there's a general sense of like, well, what do I care, right? Like if they know this particular thing about me, right? And I suppose that's why it's so nefarious, is like it's insidious, right? It kind of comes in, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and we never know like if the sheep is ever going to expose itself as a wolf, right? It could never happen, right? And that's for every data point. And what you said is exactly true, right? Like we're like, okay, yes, but this data that you're collecting is actually making my morning easier. You know what time my workout is in the morning, and you are able to say like, give me information I need on the weather, because maybe you give me an alert that says, hey, you usually jog at 7 a.m., right? And I'm seeing that there's going to be, bad weather tomorrow at 7 a.m. So like that's maybe a piece of data that you willingly gave up and gave you like this tangible benefit in response. And maybe then you see that and you're like, oh, well, great. Now I can make, other arrangements, or maybe tomorrow I won't jog, or whatever it is, right? Like you're able to reap the benefits of that data. It's hard to know, like sometimes in a case where like there's data that maybe doesn't have an immediate benefit for you or for anyone else. And I think that's probably like part of the problem, is like we don't know who the data is going to benefit eventually, even if right now it benefits you. Then
I feel like everything you said is 100% I agree with. But then I also feel like you don't know what future advances will allow them to paint a more complete picture with fragments of information about you. So while you're here, and let's roll the clock back, you're say 2010, or maybe that's too early, and you're like, yeah, okay, cool. You know that I go to the gym in the morning. Well, then roll down later on, all that information that you've seeded, you can paint a clear picture of, say, who I am now. And right now, I feel like we're cool with it if it's stuff to help us. We see the benefit, like you said. They can tell if it's raining, or they can tell if our commute is congested or something. But then when it becomes less beneficial to us, then everybody likes to talk about privacy. And I think as a society, we should be really honest with ourselves about what we give away freely. Because from that same John Oliver piece, one of the comments he said is that, you know, they're selling your information. You are the product.
Right.
Your information is what's being sold. And I don't think people have, and I guess I'm selling them short, but I don't think the community writ large understands that. It's kind of like understanding how small you are in the infinitesimal scale of the universe or something like that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I also agree that, like, well, I don't know if you actually said this, but something that I got from what you were saying was the line between data that is used for, say, like personal improvement or quality of life improvement. That same data, depending on whose hands it is in, and depending on what other data it's combined with, can give you like a really good idea of things you wouldn't want people to know, especially people who maybe, let's say, have a history of maybe gerrymandering or loading juries or trying to get evidence in a way that, and that's the reason that I brought up the Apple phone, was if we have the ability to essentially more accurately and more secretly profile people, right, then it's going to be easier for any institution of power that is able to leverage that data to get any outcome that they want from that data. And by that, like, I'm talking about, like, if they want to be sure that, like, say, a certain person or a certain ethnographic band or a certain wealth band, or, you know, again, like, I'm talking like I'm speculating here, but it's hard for me to think that this hasn't been done already, where the justice system is rigged, right? And any sort of additional tool that can be used to, say, jump to the conclusions that that justice system wants to jump to as soon as possible and as convincingly as possible, they're going to want to do that. And if they can provide data that we, like you said, like as a society, we kind of present it as, okay, we're okay with giving up this level of privacy. Largely, I think people who are okay with giving up that level of privacy are okay doing so in part because of ignorance, but also in part because they're generally not used to being targeted, right? Like, so if you're part of a demographic that is more used to being targeted and maybe a little more, I guess, less trusting of any sort of system of power, right? Then you might be like, well, wait a minute, you know, I get pulled over all the time just because of my race, or I get pulled over, right? I never get out of a ticket. Well, all these kind of prejudices that already exist would then just expand because we, like, as a society, accepted liberating this data and allowing anyone to have access to it. And basically what happened was the people who benefited from it most, or I'm sorry, the people who got the quality of life improvements for it are not generally the people who are then targeted by that same data. So I feel like, yeah, this is why, like, I go back and forth and I don't really know what the answer is. I think I have more of a sense of, like, it's just inevitable that it's going to happen, and it's hard to kind of recork that bottle. So I guess I feel both sides of it, I suppose. But really, I mean, if there was a way to contain it,
Well,
go ahead, sorry.
well, no. So I have this bad habit of not knowing when somebody's at a stopping point, so I don't want to interrupt.
I have a bad habit of never stopping. So
It's like the intersection of all our society ills are happening all at once. So we look at data privacy, it's got to be done within the understanding of our unequitable socioeconomic status and how that affects our justice system. And because, so I get what you're saying. I don't have the answers for it at all.
Why
But
not?
I do feel like the way our technology and our data manner, it's a reflection of our societal ills. But then I also feel that as the capitalist that the United States is, our people are more inclined to trust Apple, Microsoft, or name Amazon, whoever else, than the government. I feel like they would trust them to protect their data and safety before they would trust a legislative body to pass laws to protect their safety, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which is a problem either way you cut it, right? Like, should we trust our legislators? I mean, we should be skeptical about what they're doing and why, especially
Yeah.
when you have, it's all tribalism, right? Like we have Democrats and Republicans, we have iOS and Android, right? Like to think about the government as anything more than a corporation that is comprised of its citizens is, I mean, I think that's a pretty accurate analogy, right? Like the government is a corporation with employees comprised of its citizens. So I do think it's like a little bit, it's hard to draw that line, right? Like there's, it's so easy to be like, to get some kind of loyalty to something that brings you like a lot of distraction from life's ills and joy, and then associate yourself with that brand against other brands. And the Android versus Apple sort of false dichotomy that's created there is a perfect example of that. And when Apple does these, are they performative moves? Like what can be trusted, right? Like Apple did not unlock the phone in this case for the CIA, or it was either the FBI or the CIA, and that bought them a lot of goodwill from Apple users who were like, "Hooray! Apple is standing up for our privacy." Well, maybe they are. Also, maybe they just knew if you gave that up, which you were not legally obliged to do in any way, that you're going to lose the good faith of a large percentage of your customer base, and it could be. And it's also going to be set as like a precedent for like a bunch of other stuff. Whenever it comes up again, that would be cited as legal precedent, right? So there were, I think, a lot of ramifications. I think Apple made the right move there. I just wonder what their motivations were, and I don't automatically assume it was just because Tim Cook didn't, felt that he wouldn't be able to sleep at night if he unlocked this phone, right? So, yeah, it's difficult. I think it's pretty. I mean, it's ridiculously complicated, right? But also, like you said, is there any way to turn back? And there's somebody else who's been in the waiting room for a bit who I want to bring on, but I wanted to know if you had any kind of closing thoughts that you wanted to express.
I feel like I've talked a whole lot more than I expected.
No.
I'm just happy the warm welcome that the community you have. I've listened while you've had your streams, just sitting on the couch, and whenever I heard the whataboutism, I was like, oh yeah, that's a fascination of mine. But I don't know. I just really happy for the opportunity. I hope I didn't make an idiot of myself.
No, absolutely not. And it was really, really good to meet you. I still think that you're lying to me about your age, but that's fine. You can do that. And I've heard about you.
Trust you. Trust me, I'm not.
I've heard about you from Lexi, and I've actually, in fact, it was today well, I don't want to dox anyone any more than I already have. But I did hear, or I did see that like there was a long car ride to see a particular movie at a particular place.
Yes.
And I wonder if it was worth it.
Which we went and saw everything, everywhere, all at once. We had to drive 2 hours to see it.
That's
I
longer than the
posed
movie.
for a picture in front of Oh yeah, yeah. We made a entire date of it all. So it was really great just to get out from our area. But if you haven't seen everything everywhere all at once, I highly recommend it. But yeah.
I've heard incredible things about that movie, so I definitely want to see it. I don't know that I would drive 2 hours to see it, but I'm probably going to wait until
Well, it's kind of funny.
Go ahead.
You say that we had a discussion over lunch about how in other I shouldn't say civilized, developed areas of the world, it'd be nothing to hop a train and be there half the time and rely on public transit there. That doesn't exist in Louisiana or in other parts of the United States.
Yeah, it
but that's a
generally
discussion
doesn't exist. Yeah.
for another time. You got somebody waiting.
Walkable areas don't exist. Decent public transportation doesn't exist. Yes, definitely. We're lacking in a lot of those things that are pretty basic, I would think, for community building, right? And being able to do stuff like that. But yeah, that maybe that's next week's discussion. But thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And tell Lexi that we said hi.
Thank you.
Well, I guess the chat's going to tell Lexi we said hi, but either way. And hopefully we'll talk again. And go for the baker's dozen on the guitars.
Yeah, sounds
I think
great.
what you need is a guitar with a resonator. Do you have a guitar with a resonator yet?
Not that I know of.
Okay, yeah, I think
They're
you
all
need one.
like metal devices, humbucker pickups to the max.
Look up guitars with resonators and see if you can convince Lexi that it's essential that you have one. If you can pull that off.
I'll say, Scott.
I would love to get it demoed. and we'll follow up and see what happens. All right, thanks,
Sounds
Jeff.
good.
All right, we'll talk again later.
All right, take
All right,
care.
Take care. Bye. Okay, I'm curious if the fan, how loud the fan is. Oh, good night, Maddie. Thank you for coming on, for hanging out. And thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Ashley, for coming on. So, yeah, I'm curious if the fan is super loud or not. I'm just going to leave it and keep going because I think there's just something wrong with the AC here. It's not, I guess it wasn't prepared for resonate. It's kind of like a sitar. There's strings that resonate when other strings are played. So it gives you this kind of like drone that can be desirable or not desirable. But anyway, I want to bring on, like we've spoken before, but I believe that we're cut off. I think there was a problem with the connection. So let's see if it's better. As I know, she likes to be called Kiran, or likes that I say the name Kiran.
Yes.
Like that.
I like the way you say it.
How are you doing?
Oh, I was just losing my mind in the chat.
You were losing your mind in the chat? What?
Yeah.
I wasn't able to really follow along. So can you brief me on it?
So, yeah, basically the conversation about data is where I flip my shit.
In what way? How angry are you about data, about big data?
I'm very angry. I mean, this has been happening for at least 20 years. I don't think it's something that a lot of people realize. the reason why we're so quickly able to find information on the internet is because the search engine developed, very basic artificial intelligence that was able to read through, millions of lines of code. Just to really
You're
put
talking
it
about like
simply,
script scrubbers,
I mean, just the initial Google patent for the search engine. What it literally does is a script that, say, will take a web page and literally read through every single line. So that includes, HTML, CSS styling, any JavaScript that you have embedded on the page, the actual content, what have you. In the decade since, actually, they've only had 2 core updates to that algorithm so far over the last 20 years. The last one was about 2.5, 3 years ago. Each iterative patch that they release and each core update that they've done to the algorithm has given the AI the ability to contextualize the content that it's reading on the page. So it's gotten to the point where, yes, you can have a search result be returned in like 0.08 seconds, and it's supposed to be allegedly the most relevant data to the keyword or the key phrase that you've plugged in. All of this information is, it's not just websites. They're reading all the Word documents, the Google Docs, all the PDFs. They're looking at, the metadata that's on image files. If, just case in point, I've got a Gmail. Probably most people on the planet have a Gmail. Odds are you're using Chrome. You wind up logging into Chrome because that makes it easier for you to log into email and YouTube and all these ancillary services. It's not just cookies on a website. It's not just a script running on a website. Google reads your email. Google has been reading your email since they launched the Gmail service. That's how they're able to target you with text-based ads when you're going through your inbox. That's how they're able to then follow you across the internet, the World Wide Web, because you're using Chrome. And it doesn't stop there. Talking about Apple products, which I'm on my new MacBook, so I suck. But I also have an iPhone. The native map feature for Apple iOS sucks.
it's gotten
So
better.
you want
When it launched,
has
it was
gotten better.
horrible. But yeah,
Oh yeah,
I admit
at
it's
one point it was like, hey, be in the middle of San Francisco Bay, why not?
Yeah.
But a lot of people still use Google Maps.
Right.
So here's a way for Google to geographically track where you're going. Okay, so what if I don't have a smartphone or I turn the smartphone off? Most modern automobiles have an onboard computer. You don't need to have a Garmin or
Right.
be subscribed to a navigation service.
OnStar or something like that. Right.
Exactly. Your car has active onboard radar to tell you, oh, you're within one car length of the car ahead of you, so you need to hit the brakes. Or you're drifting in your lane to the left or to the right. Or you're backing up and there's someone behind you. the latest advancement basically gives you keyhole satellite technology of an overhead view of your vehicle and the immediate surroundings. So it doesn't need to be a laptop or a desktop or a smartphone. It's down to your car.
Right, which is but that's another case of like people are they're probably not aware of exactly the technology underlying it, but they are like, okay,
Right.
well, this is helping me actively day to day, right? And if it means that a corporation somewhere knows where I am, knows like essentially like I just have a low jack in my car that's tracking my movements of when I go, where I go, and how all of that data, right? I don't know. I wonder how that works, because I know for a fact, like when I got my latest car, I never signed anything that gave any sort of like permissions for, like, you kind of have to, like, you know, with Apple, like you have to allow apps to track, you have to, and I don't know how much of that is actually like just sort of performative to make you feel better versus like, yeah, we're going to give you this, but we're still tracking you. We're just like in ways that are sort of beneath the law or through loopholes in the law. But so I wonder how that's handled with cars, because I never signed anything that would have given away any sort of like what my personal rights would be as far as tracking my movements, which my understanding of the law as far as tracking movement is it is more stringent in that it does require there to be like, you have to say it's okay, right? And I think that's even
it's
like
opt-in.
right. And I never did that. So I guess I'm wondering, and even then with like secondhand cars, like then what happens then if like I just sell a car to a friend and I opted in, but maybe my friend didn't, right? Like it just seems like there are all these. It's the Internet of Things. I think is like what the term is called, or what these devices are called now, are the Internet of Things, right? So anything that can be used as a data vacuum in any way is part of the Internet of Things, and cars are certainly a part of the Internet of Things. Maybe they're a little less well known than like, it's obvious that your phone is like part of the Internet of Things, but maybe you don't know that, like, you know, the keychain that you have is part of the Internet of Things, or
Right.
you know, the Fitbit that you're wearing, or whatever it is. Basically, if there's any sort of communication with any sort of database service, then that device is part of the Internet of Things and can be used as an endpoint for some other API to integrate with and get data from, or harvest data from, and keep it somewhere or not keep it somewhere, whatever it does with that data. I don't know what happens once it hands it over.
Your debit card, your credit card, when you do the one-touch tap. You know, anytime you re-up for mass transit, you know, you flip your Metro card or, you know, your MTA card. So there are so many different vectors and points of collection. And a lot of these, and I hate to go back to my nefarious career, but it's part of my job to make you feel comfortable enough and to have a sense of trust in whatever organization or company has, you know, they're offering this technology or they're offering this service or product.
Can you
Like,
remind? You wrote copy essentially. That was. Can you remind?
I developed apps. I've developed web pages, scripting. The backbone, most of what I've done has been technical, search engine optimization, also search engine marketing, which includes writing copy, the graphic design element of it.
But you would have been
Google
part of.
certifications, whatnot.
But you would have been part of, like, you maybe had to integrate with Amazon Web Services.
Oh yeah.
on some of the right. So there's like the sort of big bad. There is Amazon Web Services. Who doesn't use Amazon Web Services apart from Apple, right?
Pretty much.
Pretty much everybody, right? And I remember, like, without just divulging too much about like my career too, there was a time when we were part of. Maybe I just shouldn't talk about this, but we wanted to get certain data from Amazon, and they wouldn't give it to us. They would only give us like tokenized, abstract versions of that data. And I remember at the time I was like, oh, that's kind of frustrating, but also I'm glad, right? I'm glad that they are doing this. And it made me think like, well, maybe Amazon isn't quite always acting like, I mean, it's probably a case of nuances, right? Like I do think Amazon, like on the whole, is fucking horrible, right? And I mean, and I'm not even just talking about like the sort of really obvious ways of how they treat their employees. I'm talking about like their ethical decisions when it comes to, well, like even like why they chose to have their second headquarters near Washington, D.C. I mean, it's pretty clear, right? Like they need to have their finger in the lobbyist pool, and geography still means something, right? It doesn't mean what it once did, but it still means something, right? So I'm definitely not defending Amazon, but I do remember being like a little like pleasantly surprised by the fact that Amazon was like, nope, we're not giving you user data, right? Like, I wonder, this was a few years ago, more than a few years ago, really, but I wonder if that would still be true today. Like, I wonder what their policies are in that regard today.
I would think they would be more proprietary in terms of we're not going to release XYZ information, that we're going to give it to you tokenized because it's our data. We're going to lend you a reasonable facsimile of it so you can use it for whatever testing you need. Develop a personas, a user group, use cases. But, I mean, just when you look at it in terms of the absolute global reach that Amazon has, and it's not just e-commerce, and it's not just Amazon Web Services.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bezos owns the fucking Washington Post.
Yeah. And like every physical route of like delivery, which I mean, their access is virtual, it is literal, it is like in the pockets of Washington, D.C., it's in the pockets of media, or rather media's in the pocket of them, right? Like it is pretty like if we did like take that metaphor of looking at corporations as governments, I would be, it seems like there's no way that a general population would probably stand for the amount of monopolization that Amazon has been able to do if we were putting all the pieces together, right? And like connecting all the dots. And again, like it just seems like they're doing a lot of Trojan horsing where it's just like, yeah, but look, you want this thing and we can get it to you in 2 hours, right? Like you used to have to wait 3 weeks to get this, and now you can literally get it the same day by just going here. And I fall victim to that, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This is something that I have not revealed yet to the community here. I wanted to talk about it a little bit, but yes, I have a standing desk. I now have a standing desk, and it took me a day to get it. And this
For
thing
free,
weighs
probably.
about 200 pounds. Yeah, it didn't cost me anything in delivery, and the thing weighs almost 200 pounds. I don't know where that cost is getting deferred. I know like Amazon is increasing like their fuel surcharges, just like Uber did, and it's one of those things where like they're increasing it, saying, well, fuel is really expensive right now, but it's never coming back down. Like even the price of fuel has already come back down, or at least the price of oil has already come back down. The price of gas hasn't really yet. But like once they get that extra, 2% or whatever it is, they're not giving that ground back up, right? And Amazon Prime, the cost of Amazon Prime doesn't ever go down. It doesn't stay the same, and it's not even really where they're making their money. So you would think like, I would almost think that like this is all like some kind of elaborate psyop in that they're saying like there's somebody in a boardroom saying we really want everyone to have Amazon Prime so that they're accepting the vectors of control that we're instilling in them. We really want to give it away for free, but that would be suspicious. So if we charge people for it, they'll think that we're actually that they're actually paying for a service that they want to have, not something that we really want everyone to have, right? So, yeah, maybe that's a little bit out there. I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised by it.
In my experience, dealing large companies, like I've don't want to give away names, but I have dealt with multinationals and companies before, not to the scale of Amazon or Nestle or Mondelez International, which a lot of people are probably going, huh? Well, that's Nabisco, that's Kraft, that's RJ Reynolds.
It's great to have an anonymous or relatively anonymous parent company, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that you can think of these things as separate entities when they're actually not.
Even Nestle as, and it just blows my mind, the hundreds of brands that they have control of. It's so subtle. Haagen-Dazs, you think, oh, I'm gonna get a Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Awesome, it's, it's delicious. No, it's fucking Nestle. Like, I'm killing
delicious.
someone. Yes. They own so many things.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like when you think about tribalism too, how you can just build brand loyalty by creating opposition that forces people to choose. Like I remember reading Nolan Bushnell's autobiography. He created and ran Atari for a long time, and literally created a fake competitor. I forget what their name was, who created like a competing game system that was not quite as good as the Atari 2600 and never quite as popular, but he owned both of them. And it was literally just a tactic that he did to give more media-worthy stories, to give more press to Atari, to give Atari the ability to be like, hey, look, Atari is the better of these two options, right? And once you hear that, you're like, oh, it's the better of two options. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Whereas if it were the only game in town, maybe you might do some digging of your own, and you might not end up with the same answer. So I think like that the idea of creating the illusion of false choice, and I know Apple's like mastered that with like the excluded middle. Like they always have three packages, right? They have you have the cheapest version of the phone, you have the middle version of the phone, and you have the most expensive version of the phone. Their goal is to get you to buy the most expensive version. Mm-hmm. They do that by creating the middle version, which has like very little value actually, and it's so you think about the middle version, and then you look at the high version, and you go, well, it's only like a little more than the middle version. Whereas if you had just the low version and the high version, you'd be like, well, there's a pretty big price differential there. But they can get you to take those little baby steps from low to medium to high. So there's so many like marketing sort of
and
bullshit.
That's exactly how software works when it comes to the packaging. No one buys the gold package. Silver's too cheap. Platinum comes with everything. I'm gonna get the platinum.
Right.
At $9.99.
Right.
I'm not gonna get something that's $10. I'm gonna get something that's 1 cent less. It's the psychology of it. It's not so much the it's hitting emotion instead of hitting the intellect.
Yeah, it's telling a story, right? It really is like narrative, like controlling the narrative around what it is that you're providing, and how you can get someone to justify shelling out more money than they might. And I know we've drifted from data a little bit here, but some of the same principles apply, right? A lot of the same principles apply when it comes to like how much data you give up, right, and what it means for you, right? This is a fucking rabbit hole that I think there's no end to it. It just leads into an infinite number of other rabbit holes. But it's safe to say that you're anti-data, I think. Anti-data collection.
I am, because there's no way to legislate it at the moment, because that requires understanding of the data. And pardon my dog walking in the background, that's her clicking. There are too few members of the sitting Congress that actually understand what data is, how it impacts, and I'm talking slow because I'm having a brain dysfunction.
Oh, no, that's okay. Do you need a moment? Do you want
No, I'm going to soldier on. I'm going to try to use my words. It's a really old Congress. And
that's part of the problem,
to say
right?
that, that's not to say that people of a certain age are unable to adapt to rapid changes in technology. Some people can, they don't know how to operate a smartphone.
That's the
they're still
stereotype, though,
faxing
right?
stuff.
I think you're right. I think it more just comes to like, look, I'm comfortable with things this way. I don't really want to keep adapting over and over again. And then you just kind of get used to it. And maybe like there are a lot of people in Congress right now who maybe don't feel like they want to do the homework to understand what all of this stuff really means, or maybe they rely.
The Patriot Act. 2 words, the Patriot Act.
Well,
who fucking read that thing before they signed it?
Well, if we're going to talk about the Patriot Act,
yeah, we're going to be toasted. But yeah, I mean, that's just.
I would go one step further than you with the Patriot Act, like in that I don't even know that it isn't that people didn't read it. I think that, and I don't even know that it is that people didn't understand like what the knock-on effects of it would be. I think they wanted it, right? Like they were like, here is the way we finally get that thing through that we've been trying to do for so long, and here's the event that allowed us to do it, and it's an event that we also enabled, right? To some extent. Yeah. Now, what extent? I don't know. I am somewhere in the middle there. I don't believe that like we created 9/11, but I do believe that we created the environment which spawned the type of people or the type of resentment towards American imperialism that would be like, okay, these people are fucking pissed off because we're fucking them. They're going to do something. And if they play by the rules, they're not going to get anywhere. So they're going to have to break the rules. Now, when they break the rules and when it causes this terrible catastrophe, which the loss of civilian life is fucking horrible, and I'm not saying that it wasn't, but once that happens, that's going to be our moment to remove rights that we wouldn't be able to remove without that kind of emotional reaction. And again, that's like narrative, right? This is a strength of storytelling, really. Like a lot of this is a strength of storytelling, which is a little bit scary.
Like the, gosh, I can't think of her name, but she positions herself as a survivor of, I think, Cavalry, and she wound up being leadership for either a council or the commission to build a memorial to those who died at the World Trade Center.
Oh, but
it turned out, she's a fraud. She was never there. She was in Spain.
But what a great story, right? Like that's
exactly, and that's the power of the narrative. like she spun herself, she marketed herself, and that's part and parcel of why we make consumer decisions without thinking about it. Oh, I'm going to get an Apple, but I'm not going to think about the fact that Siri is opted into active listening. I'm going to get an Alexa, but I'm not going to think about the fact that that's also opted into active listening. Same with Cortana.
We're told that the A word only does active listening in a cleared cache that's not stored anywhere until you say the name, right?
Yeah,
That's what we're told.
that's what we're told.
Do I believe it? I don't know if I believe it. But yeah, I don't know so much about the others, right? Like I don't know very much about Siri or Cortana. I don't know that anybody really knows very much about Cortana. But I thought for Siri, hey Siri. I might have turned it off. I don't remember.
Yeah, you have to turn it off.
Okay, so it actually I didn't remember if it actually came on or not.
It comes on.
And yeah, there's no way, like it has to be active listening. The only thing that you could do is that could be client side, right? Like you could have a client side app that's actually doing the active listening. Wouldn't need to store anything anywhere in order for it to recognize that you're asking for it. But there does need to be some amount of active listening. And if you're able to write to that again using narrative, right, in the right way, in a way that you're saying, hey, we're listening to this so that we can immediately respond for when you have an emergency, right? Like you wouldn't want to have an emergency and then us not hear you, right? So if you sign this, or if you say you're okay with this, we promise we're only going to keep that data for X amount of time.
For the life of the cookie, or
however they could phrase it in a
the
way
retention is.
Right.
Yeah. It's like when you look at people's search behavior online, it used to just be a string of sometimes incoherent keywords. You were looking for lawnmower, red, not John Deere, whatever. Over time, that's been literally massaged into people writing in queries.
Right. Yeah, because the algorithms couldn't support that kind of language understanding, and it was very much just like keyword based. I mean, pre-Google, right? Like I'm talking like Alta Vista.
Dogpile, all that.
Dogpile was the best. Like in its day, like I was like, oh, this is good. But that was just a conglomeration of other search engines, if I recall correctly. But I do remember, it was just like these disjointed keywords where you'd hope that one of them hit. And now, like via what you were talking about, like the document scanning that Google can do, the AI that they have and the natural language processing that they have, you can just write like a plain English or a plain sentence, right, and get a pretty accurate response, but at what cost, right?
Yeah, and it's also not just the cost of your personal data, whether aspects of it you've opted in for knowingly. Like, yes, I've got a Gmail account. Yes, I'm logging into Chrome. Hopefully there's some kind of logical connection there that says they're going to know what I'm looking for, right? Which is why we've got Brave and Firefox and alternatives like that. But there's also, by extension, I'm having a really bad brain night. I'm sundowning right now.
I think you're having I don't know your baseline brain night, but it feels like a brain night to me. Somebody is
TBI
asking,
is not great.
What is a query in this context? Do people not just use keywords to search anymore?
No, they do not.
Well,
the average search behavior is to input a question.
Right, like where do I? Right, yes, which is almost like Jeopardy, right? And some of that is extraneous, but it is like, it does seem like, especially with maybe a little less with mobile devices, because there is still some physical issues with overcoming the small keyboards, right? For a lot of people, for some people, for a younger generation, it's very natural
but then
for
you've
them.
got voice to text.
Yeah, and then you've got
Which
voice
is
to
where
text,
the-
right? But you
the
do see a
listening-
difference between like native web apps, how people put in queries in those versus mobile, right? And generally, it tends to be shorter. You get shorter utterances or queries in mobile than you do on a computer, right? Because
Yeah,
it's just easier.
which is where the human component still comes into play.
Right.
You can have marketing automation that can take it probably 90%. No. Okay, right. I'm 49. Okay. And
Well, no, but I do
Love
think
you, Lou.
there is actually like something to be said for the fact that, yeah, the way that you had to search pre-Google, or at least pre-Google algorithm, whatever it was, you had to just put in a bunch of keywords.
There's a crapshoot.
If you're okay with using Chrome and giving Google the information that you want, they are so much better now at giving you. I think maybe people don't remember how difficult it was to find what you wanted
No.
on the internet 20 years ago. Like it was
Especially before universal search became a thing.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, because it used to be siloed. So here, all your text results, here's all your image results, here's the news-related results, here's video result, and before they even bought YouTube. Like
And a lot-
YouTube's the second largest search engine.
Oh, I didn't even know that. And a lot of that
It-
was like a lot of what Google was touting, which sounds silly, but it's actually not, is like how fast their algorithm was. Like it's like we have a search algorithm that is 10 times faster than any of the alternatives out there, and it gives you more accurate results. So I don't know. Maybe some of this is some of my own personal bias coming into it. I'm not sure, but I do know that you can now like be much less precise and much less trying to do like the investigative guesswork of like what it is that I'm searching for when I search for something now than you had to be earlier. You had to be you almost had to be sneaky about like, well, how am I going to get the result that I want, right? And even then you would end up paging through pages of results to find the result that you want. Now it's almost always the first or second, but beneath the sponsored, when you get the sponsored ones, and it's almost always like within the first few, at least for me, right? Like, and that change I think happened kind of gradually to the point where maybe it wasn't noticed, but certainly looking back on it, I can remember like being like, I'm on the 50th page of my search result, and I finally found the thing that I'm looking for, right? And it's just not like it, not like that anymore. Ava, good night. I know we're going
night,
a bit
Ava.
long. Yeah, I probably need to wrap up here. It's after 10 in a minute. But did we cover? Is there anything you wanted to cover that we didn't cover?
I guess one last point.
This makes sense, Brad Pitt. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yep.
Yes, they do. For, I think I want to say they bought them.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, it was over a decade ago. But yeah, when YouTube first started, it was independent. It had nothing to do with them. But I guess like one last word, probably on search engines in general. Whenever you're logged into something, like say, even if you're using Edge and you're using Bing as your search engine, the longer
God
you
help you.
use, the longer you use that piece of technology, the more it learns about you. So, I mean, if you're okay with that, if it makes your life easier, I don't think you're necessarily selling your soul to the devil, but just be cognizant of the fact that these public-facing softwares exist, but there are privately used corporate software like electronic health records, patient management systems, even marketing automation, e-learning platforms. if you're in a distance learning curriculum, or if because of COVID you're taking classes strictly online. A lot of the underlying principles that, and I'm saying this from personal experience, hands-on. I've worked in telecom, I've worked in electronic learning, I've worked in EHR. A lot of the same principles are at play, and this is all to make the user of that proprietary software, to make their workflow easier, to make their lives easier. And by default, the consumer, if you're a patient, it makes your life easier because you've got a patient portal now that you can get into, for example. Or you're a student and you've got a student portal that you can get into now. I think those areas, the walled gardens, are something to be more hyper conscious of than the consumer facing ones, because I think, you know, the horses left the barn on that in a lot of ways, but the privatized software, I think, is where we really need to take a very serious, just critical, sarcastic look at.
So, for instance, right, like, it's very easy for me to see the results of my own blood work now online. I mean, it's a wonderful patient portal by which I can go in and look at it, you know, every month or two and study it and be like, oh, this is within the range of normal, but it's a little bit high. What could this be an indicator of? And then go on one of, you know, my hypochondriasis fueled nighttime searches of what it might be an indicator of, right? I find that like wonderful, right? Like I'm like, oh, it's so good that I don't have just like a paper printout of this anymore. And then I can even like ask the doctor questions through that same portal about like those results, which I try very hard not to do, but I have done before. So, but what you're saying is like, that has like a big tangible benefit to the consumer, but that also has like really, really, I mean, that's strong data, right? Like that's not what time did I wake up in the morning, right? This is and when I remember when
And financial
23
services too.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to talk about financial services.
Yeah, I know you're not.
But like when 23andMe came out, right? Like I was like, oh, this is great. Oh, wait, what? Like, you want me to like give you my genetic profile so that you can keep it on record forever? I still did it, right? But I did it like aware of like, okay, this is problematic for like a shit ton of reasons, but millions of people were just like, yeah, tell me where I came from. Tell me what my if I have the marker for this disease or that disease or whatever it was, right? So I feel like in areas where people know that the data they're asking for is more sensitive, they need to provide a more tangible sort of benefit for the person giving them that data, so that because it's actually something that people might think about. Whereas like in other areas, like you just don't even really think about it, right? You don't really think about the active listening going on until you notice that, as John said, was it John Broussard? Oh gosh, am I forgetting his first name? Jeff Broussard, sorry. Like Jeff said earlier, right? Like he was talking about something with Lexi, and then like an hour later he went downstairs and that thing happened to come up in an ad. Yeah. Was that like association bias? I don't know, maybe, but maybe not, right? So for those things, you're saying the horse is out of the barn. It's too late to recork that bottle. But in the private industry, when it's coming to certain types of data, that we should be doing what we can to legislate, keeping that stuff private, because what does HIPAA really protect?
And, you know, the limits on personally identifiable information, should that be expanded? okay, fingerprint data, what I use to unlock my Windows laptop, what I use to unlock my Apple phone, to a lesser extent, because it's more haptic than anything, I don't open or lock a car with my car keys. I
Right.
use a finger.
Yeah.
It's my thumbprint. And actually, Pavi was like, like, what do I do about this stuff? Be aware. I mean, there are things that we're going to be able to push for stronger legislation on, regardless of the country that you happen to live in. Like Europe was actually a great example with GDPR because it forced United States' hand in for a lot of major organizations, most of them, I would imagine, at least the ones that I was involved with at that time and it was about to come to pass. It's just, it is very complicated. There are some substantive hurdles to overcome. Mainly, I think it comes down to education. And a lot of that is the willing to learn or the willingness to listen and have a conversation about these things, which is why I love this podcast.
I guess I appreciate everything that you're saying. I also wonder, like, is it too late across the board? Is this just like one more pillar of our crumbling capitalist civilization that's going to, maybe it will be the issue that breaks the camel's back, right? I don't know. I mean, who knows what the solutions are, but I do appreciate like your insight and talking to you about this. And yeah, I love it when you call in. So I hope you're doing well. You're still in South Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I read about some crazy bacterial breakout, meningococcus, I think it was, going on.
Yeah, spring break in South
Yeah,
Florida.
essentially, yeah, spring break. That was exactly what
Disease
I was like, oh, look.
Central.
Yeah.
It's a giant petri dish.
People are doing
Yeah.
what people do.
And also because of Florida, gay,
Oh,
homosexual,
right.
gay.
That's right. So,
God,
wait,
I hate them.
so what is the state of that bill right now? Like, what, or is it even a...
Last I was willing to stomach to hear about it. I don't think it had been challenged yet, but I think individual districts, I don't even know at the county level, maybe at the county level, I think a lot of commissioners and school districts were like, yeah, we're going to do the same thing like we did with your anti-COVID edict,
Yeah.
saying you didn't have to mask up or do this or social distancing, whatever. I think the counties are kind of going rogue on that.
I mean, DeSantis is probably going to be a front runner in 2024, right? So can't wait to look forward to more of that.
Yeah, and Rick Scott.
Yep.
Yeah, we graduated him to DC. It was, thanks, Florida.
All right, I'm gonna log off here in a minute, but thank you very much, and we'll I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Not at all.
All right, take care. All right, thank everybody for calling in tonight. I need to wrap things up. I see that Indigo is calling in, but you are calling in too late. I need to go. I'm very tired, old and tired. And you literally just called in again. I'm turning the interview off. Next time. I hope that you're okay. Anyway, thank you all for hanging around, for being a part of this, like you always are. Really appreciate it. No, it's not that it won't let you join. I will not let you join because you called way too late. You literally called after I said, about to wrap it up. So anyway, hope everybody has a good week and take care. And I will see you all next week, hopefully. All right.